When I got back to LA, Colby surprised me at my apartment with a beautiful bouquet of flowers and some fancy dark chocolate. I may have a slight obsession with dark chocolate. It was the week of Valentine's Day, and he had all sorts of outings planned, including going to see Bring Me the Horizon in the Forum in LA and a dinner together for Valentine's night, where the exclusive conversation came up. "What do you want to do here? Do you want to date?" he asked. "No, I don't think so. You're not ready for it." I put the heat on him when, in reality, I wasn't sure I wanted to. I'd never been in a relationship that hadn't broken up. If we were an item, it would eventually become public, and if we broke up, it would be awkward. Everyone would have their input on it. What would work look like? From what I had seen, when people at work broke up, one always came out looking worse than the other, and eventually someone would have a meltdown and either leave or get fired. I didn't want to go through all that. But maybe I am. Maybe I wasn't with the right people before, he conceded. "You'll regret it if you don't go and sow your wild oats," I said, still putting the heat on him, though I wasn't ready to commit. I wasn't even ready to commit to not committing. It was all too scary. I left the next day, Rebecca. I'd stopped myself as I tried to shoo away the butterflies that seemed to be populating my organs. The conversation in my own mind was going something like this. "You're really into him, aren't you?" "No." "Why not?" "'Cause he's so perfect and gets me and is the most incredible human I've ever met." Damn it! I was into him. Fuck. I got to the arena for Elimination Chamber. Colby hadn't even landed in Houston, and I was texting him that I missed him and couldn't wait to see him. "What happened? Are you okay?" he asked, confused by my sudden affection, a departure from the somewhat aloof game I had been playing. "Why are you all about it all of a sudden?" Colby asked as we drove after the pay-per-view. I was already showing more affection than I had before, stroking his arm as he drove, smiling at him non-stop. Earlier at the signing, whenever someone or something reminded me of you, I got this weird subconscious excitement. I just wanted to talk about how great you are. It made me realize I might be kind of into you. "So do you want to do this? Like, do you want to be a thing?" "Yeah, I think I do." "So we're doing this then?" "We are." "Oh, that's wild, man," he said, stamping our officialness into the cosmos. It was wild, and it felt so right. We now just had to figure out if we cared about this becoming public. I wondered if the man should have a man, and if that would do anything to my mystique. If I even had mystique. Best to just keep it on the down low for the time being. We were having coffee that morning in a cafe near the arena, and Fergal walked in while we were all cozied up. Fergal and I were so far past any sort of romantic relationship that there was zero weirdness. But it did make it obvious that Colby and I wouldn't be keeping this a secret for very long. And that was okay too. WrestleMania 35. It was a nice number. It seemed like a good year for women to be the main event. We were still running hot. People still cared. But one can never bank on anything until the actual day. Cards subject to change is a very real thing. However, on Sunday, the 24th of March 2019, I got my answer. I just finished the show in Buffalo, New York, and had a nearly 7-hour drive to Boston for Raw. It was on that drive that I got a text from Vince to myself, Charlotte, and Rhonda. I pulled over to the side of the road and read the most glorious text I had ever received. "You will be the main event of WrestleMania 35. We're going to announce it tomorrow. Congratulations." Holy shit. What am I reading? Is this real? Did I hit a deer on the drive and I'm in a deep coma dreaming all of this? I shook my head. I needed to tell someone. As great as this little dance party I was throwing myself alone in the car on the side of the 495 was, there was too much excitement to keep to myself. I texted Colby. "Vince just texted. We're the main event of WrestleMania. They're going to announce it tomorrow." "That's interesting. I wonder why they would announce it. Because it's never been done before and it's a big deal. I wanted someone to share my excitement, but I wasn't getting the reaction I wanted from him. Of course, I was being selfish. I didn't consider how upsetting that news would be for him. He had always wanted to main event WrestleMania, and he had a chance to do it this year, until his girlfriend took it away from him. I became cold and distant, hurt that he didn't congratulate me right away. There were still at least 3 more hours on my drive. He was already in the hotel in Boston waiting for me, but I had plenty of time to find a new one for myself. Yeah, I suppose this year is different. I think I'll stay somewhere else tonight. It'll be late when I get in. What? No, what's wrong? He asked. I just gave you the biggest news of my life and you didn't even say congratulations. Sorry, you know how I like to analyze things, especially when it comes to wrestling. This isn't one of those things. This is the biggest deal of my life, I responded, upset. You're not staying somewhere else. Just come here. I arrived 3 hours later, still cold and distant. Why are you getting so upset about this? I'm sorry, I should have said congratulations. It was my own jealousy. Because I feel like you don't think I deserve it, I said through tears. He hugged me tight. Though the fact was, it wasn't him not believing I deserved it. I wasn't sure I did. By the time I had driven the hour back to the hotel, I was filled with doubt about how good this match was going to be. With all of our busy schedules, it didn't look like we would have a moment to talk about it before the big day. Colby held me while every doubt and insecurity I'd ever had about wrestling and my ability gushed out of my mouth like a waterfall. It's not about the moves, he reminded me. The story is all there. You just have to tell it. He was right, of course. He had the best mind for wrestling of anyone I knew. And even though I was in the spot that he wanted me to do my best and own it. But it felt so big, because it was. It could change the wrestling business for women forever. While the next few days were a blur of appearances, early morning media, and late night shoots, I was grateful to come back to Colby every night and have that comfort. I'd never had that before, nor had I wanted that before. At first, I was even reluctant to share a room with him that week. I was used to my own way of doing things, which is to isolate myself, dwell, write, and concentrate on envisioning how I want everything to go. I viewed having someone else there as a distraction. Not him, though. He was the greatest addition to my life and the best decision I ever made. The day that felt like it would never come was here, April 7th, 2019. This was my WrestleMania. I was the headliner. My name was on the marquee. This day would never happen again, and I didn't want to miss a thing. We arrived at MetLife Stadium before 10 a.m. It will be a long time before I'd go out. In recent years, WrestleMania had become upwards of 8 hours long, including the pre-show. They had a tent set up with 2 rings, so we had a place to iron out our match. However, because everyone was so busy, we had to put the match together in small increments. Rhonda had Joan Jett play her in, live, and Charlotte would arrive via a helicopter. I wouldn't have anything special, but that was also part of the appeal. I was raging against the machine. It would have been odd if they went all out on this for me. Colby, who was set to face Brock Lesnar, had gone from being right before me to the first match on the card. Shit! I gotta go watch this. I'll be back in a few. I ran out of the tent and up to Gorilla just in time to catch his entrance. Brock had arrived late and didn't like his spot on the card and thought their match would be better as the opener. I knew Colby was meant to win the title from Brock that night, but wasn't sure if that had now changed also. Colby went out there, the star that he is, and took some gnarly bumps that had my heart jump into my mouth, considering his back was still feeling awful, and I wondered if he'd even be able to walk to her. I couldn't relax until the match was over. Eventually, as I watched through my hands, he hit the curb stomp, his finisher, and pinned the Beast 1, 2, 3 to become the new Universal Champion. I jumped up and down in my own little corner in Gorilla and waited for him to come back. Once I saw him walk through the curtain safely, I left Gorilla and stood just outside to allow him to have his moments and thank everyone. Plus, we weren't officially out yet. He came out and wrapped me up in a big sweaty hug. I couldn't have done it without you, he said as camera crews swarmed us. Of course, he absolutely could have and would have. Even worse, he might have been the main event. Regardless, I felt special that I got to experience it all with him. But now that he was done, I had to finish putting my match together, get into my gear, and get my makeup done. It was now time for the main event. The moment that felt like I had been building to my entire life. The women's roster had now congregated in Gorilla, I imagined watching with equal parts hope and envy. It was the spot everyone wanted. Bad reputation had just begun as Ronda went to exit through the door that had replaced the standard curtain in Gorilla to the stage, Joan Jett and the Blackhearts playing her down as the exhausted crowd came to life. The energy was clearly dwindling after so much wrestling. Then it was Charlotte's time, as she walked out through the now gaping hole in Gorilla. The music finished, and I heard the sound of 80,000 people chanting my name, awaiting history. My music hit and I strutted out, ensuring I took my time to soak it up. The stadium was packed to the brim. The dark night sky was cold and crisp. I looked to the left to see Joan Jett kindly smiling at me as she clutched her guitar. Walking down the ramp to the ring felt like it took 2 hours and 2 seconds at the same time as I tried to take in as many faces as I could. The bell rang and the match started, the tired crowd graciously serenading me with the chants of "Becky, Becky," out of the ring and to the floor when you're not in a portion of the match. Eventually, we'd reached the crescendo. Charlotte was out of the picture, having gone through a table, and the crowd got riled up for the moment they had waited for. At last, it was Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey, 1-on-1. But the ref, knowing this was the end of the match, counted to 3, regardless of Ronda's shoulder coming up, in one of the most anticlimactic finishes in WrestleMania main event history. We were making all sorts of history that night. The crowd jumped up to their feet regardless. They were happy to see me win in this historic match, but I'm sure also partially happy to get the hell home. All the people who got me to where I was flashing before my eyes as I crumpled over with disbelief. Got fireworks! Soak it in, I repeated to myself. Am I soaking it in enough? Is this the right way to soak it in? No matter where you go, there you are. There will always be insecurities. There will always be doubts. But on this night, I had proved to myself, despite it all, I would find a way to overcome them. I got out of the ring and ran to my brother and dad. "I'm proud of you, kid," Richie beamed. "Well done, Bex," my dad said as I hugged him. I began to walk up the ramp, looking out to the crowd, afraid to even blink should I miss a second of this, the 2 titles I was holding becoming heavy on my shoulders. Tomorrow I would worry about what would come next for me, but for tonight, I was the man. I texted my mom when I got back to the changing room. "Where were you? Why weren't you in front?" "No one came to get us, but that's okay. I'm so proud of you," my mom texts back. Even the man yearned for the approval of her mother, and to put her mind at rest. All those gambles were worth it. We were less than 24 hours removed from WrestleMania. I was running on about an hour of sleep, having done media in the morning and had just delivered a promo with a new chantable catchphrase and future merch shirt. How about a thank you? Instead, Vince was very upset that I, who had just won both titles in the first women's main event of WrestleMania in its history of 35 years, didn't sell the punch delivered to me by Lacey Evans. In fact, when I tried to explain myself, he yelled at me, "You're not fucking listening to me!" So many F-bombs. Shaken, I walked out of Gorilla and looked for solace in my friends backstage. Colby was right there to help me. "You gotta understand, he's been burned so many times by people he's made stars. And plus, it's kind of a good thing. He thinks of you as a top star, as one of the guys. He'd never talk to a woman like that otherwise." Colby comforted me. "Seth says to Corbin, pick any ref you want. So he picks Lacey because she has a vendetta against you and tries to screw Seth out of the title. That's when you come out. What do you think?" Ed Koskey, the head writer of Raw, pitched me on an idea. Gosh, I don't know. Is it weird for the man to have a man, you know? I wondered. Think about it, Ed said. Colby and I weren't even together 6 months. Our relationship hadn't been public for a month. Working together could be fun, but would it work? The way I see it, it's like seeing Daredevil and Elektra fighting side by side. If you know they're together, that's cool, but if not, it's no big deal, argued Colby. I suppose as a fan I'd want to see that, I answered. Exactly, and it'll be fun, Colby reiterated. I'm worried that they're just going to turn me into your girlfriend. Like that's what I'll be relegated to, I confessed. Nah, you're too big for that now, Colby comforted me. Joining forces with Colby would either be exciting or ruinous, both from a career standpoint and a relationship standpoint. After much deliberation, and with the earth-shattering excited love energy between us, we gave the creative team the all-clear to go ahead with the storyline. But I had one condition that needed to be drilled into Vince's head. Becky can't just be Seth's girlfriend. Ha ha! Becky's not Seth's girlfriend. Seth is Becky's boyfriend. Ha 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 ha! Vince exclaimed, laughing in hysterics. It was all so nice in theory. Two of WWE's top stars, both champions, fighting side by side in the face of evil. We made our side-by-side debut at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, and quickly found out that, in reality, it was a damn mess and not in the slightest bit cool. Commentary reminded the good folks watching every 2 minutes that Becky and Seth are in a real-life relationship, so much so that it was both uncomfortable and off-putting. We also had no idea how to interact with each other on screen. I was used to being a badass. He was too, and in this mushy, muddled TV relationship, we were just plain awkward. Or, more appropriately, I was plain awkward. Or cringe, as was often the word used to describe it online. Blending the two worlds didn't work for me, as I was two completely different people in each of them. In the ring, I said what I meant, didn't take any shit from anyone, needed no one, and showed no level of vulnerability or humility. At home, or with Colby, rather, I needed no mask. He was very aware of the insecure, strange, often shy girl I was who would struggle to say how I feel or speak up. He knew all of my vulnerabilities, for better or worse. He knew I was not the person on screen. Unless I was pissed off. Then the man would be scared of Rebecca Quinn. When the storyline was over, I think everyone was relieved. Him, me, the audience. Colby and I learned a lot about ourselves and each other in that short time. We hadn't been dating long, but we were thrown into the deep end. Even if we weren't a good pairing on screen, I had found the perfect person for me off screen.